am a marvelous mom because my kids never doubt my love for them. Even when I'm yelling at them, they know I love them.
Welcome to the Marvelous Moms Club podcast. Discover yourself, break out of mediocrity, and become the mom you've always aspired to be. Here's your host, Kirsten Tyrell.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the podcast. I'm so excited. I was just telling my guests that every single time I do an interview, it's always benefiting me the most. It's always stuff that I need to hear from them. And today is no different. So welcome to the podcast, Catherine. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Kirsten. I'm excited to be here.
It's been a long time since I've done these, and getting back in the saddle has been so rewarding, and I just love that I'll have time set aside to talk to other moms, and you have so much to offer me and offer the audience. So starting with, let's talk about your mom life. How many kids do you have? How old are they? All those fun things.
Sure. I have two. My youngest just turned 3 and my oldest is 5. So little ones.
Oh, so fun. Yep, they're little. And
sometimes
are you
3.
finding...
3 is not very fun.
No, I was going to say, do you think 3 is harder than 2?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I remember when my oldest was 3 and my little one was a baby, and I was like, please don't turn into that. And now he is he's actually like 10 times worse than she was. So yes, way harder.
Yeah, those are the survival years, but you'll make it through. And so tell everybody a little bit, like, kind of about your platform and what you have founded and a little bit of your background.
Sure. So my business is BRB Yoga, and the whole concept behind it is that I help moms restore their core health and pelvic floor health after they have babies. And I do that through yoga. I've always been
Amazing.
I've loved yoga for like almost 20 years now, and I've been a teacher for over 10 years. And when I had my kids and I jumped back into yoga, I realized that it really wasn't serving me well, that it was actually basically 8 months after I had my baby, I realized I was weaker than I was like the day she was born. That something about the work that I was doing was actually making my body unable to heal. And so that was it was a hard time because, right, when you have a baby, you like need those things that bring you joy. Yeah. And yoga was always that thing for me. And I couldn't do it without feeling like, oh, my back is aching afterwards. And I feel like my organs are falling out of me. Like all of these things were happening because of my yoga. So it put me on this mission to really figure out how I could make a yoga practice healing. And in doing that, I was able to heal my own body. And then I started talking about it, and I found so many other women who either just don't have the resources to know how to fix themselves, right? They may like yoga, they may not. And so giving them the tools, but also a lot of women who had a strong yoga practice before they had babies, and then they had the same experience I did, where they got back into yoga and it just wasn't helping them. It was actually making them feel weaker and have things like diastasis recti, abdominal separation, pelvic organ prolapse. Like, it can create a lot of things if you're not doing it properly. So that's my mission. I just want women to be able to get their core strength back, because I think it's so fundamental for really showing up big in your own life. Like, if you're feeling weak, if you feel like your body isn't supporting you, you're so much more likely to say no to the things that you love doing. And I don't want women to have to do that.
It's so true. Well, and even like moms like me who baby after baby, I never got my pre-baby body back. And I just kept having more babies. And so by the time number 3, I ended that pregnancy weighing far less than I weigh now, but being in the thralls of motherhood, it's like you never plan to get to a point where you're like uncomfortable in your own skin, you're uncomfortable in your own body, and you can't keep up with your kids. Like, before you have kids, you have all kinds of ideals and plans. And if you're like me, who never even really practiced yoga before, but now you want to get into it, I really truly believe that. Like, if you don't feel strong, it's very hard to show up as a mom. It's very hard to show up and want to chase your kids around. Or, obviously there's certain things you can't do without pelvic control and core control with your kids that are very fun. And so I've always thought, like, it's so unfair that by the time you have children, you don't have the energy of a child and you can't keep up with them. And I feel like working on that core strength and really building up a foundation of health for yourself, I think it is possible to have enough energy to keep up with your kids and actually enjoy them while they're little. So I love that you're doing that.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. And I think I love hearing those words, like you can be powerful and you can show up in your life, which I know is a lot of your message. So share a little bit about that, because that really spoke to me when you kind of told me not being on the sidelines of your own life.
Yeah, so that really is my message. So there's this area, kind of people focusing on women's bodies after pregnancy. There's a ton of people that are now getting into this space, and I see so many of the messages being, you get your body back. And it makes me cringe when that is the message that is being given to women, because I think it's one, unrealistic, just knowing what happens to your body during pregnancy, right? It will be forever changed. You're never going to get that body back. And the expectation, right? I can get on a soapbox about this topic, but the expectation that we give women that like at 6 weeks, right? If you tell a woman at 6 weeks after she had a baby, like I think about the way I was at 6 weeks after I had my baby, and I was like being told I can go do whatever I did before I got pregnant. And that to me is insanity, because not only mentally are you not ready to do that, but then your body is so not ready to do that. Pregnancy creates all of these muscular imbalances. And if you throw a body that's all imbalanced into high impact activities, it just creates a lot of issues. So for me, my message has never been, let's get your body back. It's like, let's get you strong so that you can do the things you want to do. Because for me, always, my whole life, being happy, like my sense of happiness and contentedness, it comes so much from what I can do. When I am going out on a hike, out in nature, living my life to the fullest, that is when I feel the most joy. That is when I feel most at home in my body and with myself. And so now, having worked with hundreds of women on this issue, that is also, it's kind of evolved naturally. I started teaching just with the body. And then I saw that through the course of reconnecting to your core and really building strength up there, it was opening up worlds to women, to moms that they thought had closed once they had a baby, right? Like, and it could be anything. It could be running. Like I have women who were really fast runners before they had babies, and then afterwards they just couldn't do it. And then getting their core strength back, they started hitting those pre-pregnancy times. Or things like, you want to go jump at the trampoline park with your kid, but you thought, well, I'm a mom, I'm not going to be able to do that, because we all joke about moms peeing on trampoline, but we don't have to. But then seeing them be able to do that, and then it's like, not only are you like having fun and creating memories, but you are connecting with your children. So it's just the ability, the core strength really gives you the ability to say yes to whatever you want to do. And so to me, that is so much more of an important message. Like, you don't have to be on the sidelines of your life, and you really can give yourself the tools so that you can say yes to whatever it is you want to do.
I love that. And I think there's such a parallel that can be drawn, which I'm sure that you see and talk about a lot as you coach people and as you have programs and stuff, with like, how even just working out makes you feel stronger, and it doesn't necessarily matter that your body outwardly hasn't changed in the 20 minutes that you worked out, but you just feel better. And so you show up differently. Your confidence level is different. So I feel like there's so many moms who don't need to wait until their body is at a certain visual perfection, because it never will be, obviously. Like, none of us will ever be perfect. But taking that time to really feel strong on the inside, I think physically, yes, but emotionally, I think it's going to transmute across the board, because if you're feeling strong physically, if your core is strong, your heart is strong, right? Like, that's kind of what I was thinking as you're talking, is you're strengthening like your soul as you strengthen your body, and they are all intertwined, and your energy is going to be different. So even if you haven't been working out and doing yoga and everything for months, and you've done it one time and you feel stronger and you feel more confident and you realize that you have this power, you're going to show up with your kids, and you're probably going to be more mentally active with them just by taking the steps and making the effort. So I love that, because I think it's like an evolution and a process, not so much you do this and then you're great, you're good to go. I think it's ongoing,
Right.
which
Yes.
is
No, that's
important.
such a good point. It is
Yeah.
important, and it's that is a huge part of it as well. And I think also the one of the huge benefits I think that I get from the women get from just doing this program is simply taking the time for themselves, really
Mm-hmm.
giving themselves the permission, right? It
Yeah.
helps that they sign up for a course and I say like, okay, you actually have to like write out a schedule because if you don't write out a
Yeah.
schedule, you're not going to do it. And that
Uh-huh.
then gives them the permission to, right, ask their partner for help or
Yeah.
say like these 20
Right.
minutes, I just need you to take the kids for these 20 minutes. So that giving them the permission to take that time for themselves, not only does it make them feel better physically and mentally, but then also, when you get that time for yourself, you're being mindful. So then, you're less likely to yell at your kids. You're less likely to
Mm-hmm.
blow up at your husband because you've had that time to fill yourself first. And I think that
Right.
that can be understated because we as moms are so bad at taking that time for
Oh my
ourselves.
gosh, so bad. So bad. There's so much guilt wrapped up in that. I actually have a business coach who's also a health coach, and
Mm-hmm.
I hesitated for probably 3 or 4 months even talking to her about the health aspect of my life because in my mind I couldn't handle one more obligation, one more thing. And the
Right.
main core issue was the guilt surrounding I already take time for my business. I already take time for travel. I can't take time to do yoga. I can't take time to meditate. I can't take time to do spiritual stuff because that's just so
Right.
selfish of me when it's actually the least selfish thing you can do because if you're running yourself so thin that you have
Mm-hmm.
nothing to offer to your children, there's going to be resentment. There's going to be, I've seen this in women who are older who have raised their children and they wait until they're in their 40s and 50s to regain their control and to regain who they are and their identity in their physical state and in their emotional and whatever. And I don't want to see that happen. And I think we have the power to kind of change those patterns to where there shouldn't be so much guilt associated. I think there's just a generational shift. Don't you think? Like the
I
generation before
do.
us, they were so dedicated to just serving their families and they felt like that was the most noble thing. And it was very
Yeah.
noble, but they didn't do anything for themselves. They completely lost themselves. And I don't know. So I think it's really important to be conscientious of not feeling guilt surrounding wanting to take care of yourself.
Yeah, no, I think that's so true. And I think that that is a really big part. I mean, that's why what you do is amazing, like creating the community where these conversations can happen and really just, normalizing the fact that you might feel guilt, but it's still okay to do it. And like just creating those conversations to make it so that people because the Pinterest world we live in, it really can make you feel like you need to be thinking about your children 24/7, and that is not going to
Right.
help anyone.
Oh my gosh. I mean, Valentine's Day just passed. I don't know when this episode will air, but you look at the varying degree of the time that, for me, I felt like I accomplished a lot just getting the store-bought ones and actually doing the
Mm-hmm.
Valentines versus some mom might feel like she hasn't accomplished anything because she didn't do handmade and she didn't do pictures of her kids holding a lollipop.
Oh my
Anyway,
gosh.
I feel like it's so true in this day and age. We're measured against this bar of perfection that's not realistic. So even with our health, I love that your program, you mentioned like 20 minutes. Anybody can
20
steal away
minutes.
20 minutes. Where I think
Yeah.
there's, I appreciate you saying that about the community because I think that is a powerful thing. I hope people listening to this, because I feel jazzed up hearing you talk, and I think there's very big words in what you say that are very empowering. And so I think hearing this, I think people need to be conscientious of their time. We all have 24 hours, but we all have the ability to make the most of them. And our kids do not stay up 24 hours a day. We do have 20 minutes when our kids are asleep, either
That,
first thing in the
yeah.
morning or after they go to bed, that we can do that for ourselves. So there's really no
It's
excuse, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's not ideal, but I do even suggest, right? So like I literally have my students like make a schedule and they have a plan A and a plan B because mom life, like it gets
I
in the
love
way.
that.
Stuff comes up. So you've got to have a plan B. And I'm like, have one day a week. If your kids are there with you, who cares? One,
Right.
it's not going to be a great practice, right? You're going to be distracted, but that's fine. You're still doing the work. And then two, what an awesome example to set for your children. And like they'll post pictures of like their kids in warrior pose on mats next to them.
love
I'm
it.
like, that's amazing, because not only are you taking care of yourself, but you're teaching your kids how to do the same. And who doesn't want to do that with their be that role model for their kids?
Yeah, I totally have. We have 4 yoga mats. I have one and my kids all have one. And I will admit we don't do it that often together because my kids don't quite last as long. And I can't keep, I've had them do the yoga on YouTube where it's like, and they move so fast. And I'm like, oh yeah, mommy's not at this point. Kids can move that quickly, but mommy's not on rapid fire. I need to hold some poses here. But I do think that's a mentality shift too, is like, your kids watching you take time and sacrificing your time away from them to maybe go to a yoga class or go on a walk is just going to build this appreciation. That's kind of something that my coach told me, is like, they're not going to resent you for working out. They're going to be so grateful you showed them the benefit of a healthy life. And that's when it clicked for me. I was like, oh my gosh, yes. I'm trying to do everything for them and it's not doing them any favors. So I love that.
Right.
So a little bit of we don't have to get into the deep, dark stuff if you don't want to, but you wrote to me
I'm happy
one of your struggles.
to do that.
You're good. Okay. Some of your struggles in the background is having, a father with alcoholism. So, and how did that kind of change the way that you wanted to live your life?
Right. So, so my father was an alcoholic my entire life. So I don't know anything else. My parents got divorced when I was 7, and my mom is like an amazing, the most amazing mother. I mean, she did such an amazing job. And so my father, he died of liver failure when I was in grad school. So I was like 22, I think. And I had, at that point, we knew it was going to happen at some point soon. He just had withered away and he was not doing well. So we knew it was coming. But a couple years before that, when I was a teenager, I remember, it's actually amazing looking back and thinking, like, as a teenager, having the wherewithal to think this, but I knew that he was on this path. And I knew that if anyone could have an impact on him, it would be his children, who loved him the most, who he loved the most, because my whole life, never did I doubt his love for me. So when I was a teenager, I went to him and I basically asked him to stop. I was like, hey, I want you to see me get married. I want you to meet your grandchildren. I want all of this. And I'm going to ask you to do it. And I did that not for him. I mean, yes, I did it for him, but I did it mainly for me, because I knew that if I didn't do it, he was going to stay on that path and die. And I would regret for my whole life that I had never tried. So at that point I tried. And it didn't go well. He accused someone of putting me up to it. Like he in fear and anger lashed out. But to this day, I'm so grateful that I did it, because I know that I did everything that I could do at that young age. And that whole experience, and particularly, the last few years and him in the end dying, he was 50 when he passed away, so young. And it just, at a young age, I was like, this life is short. Nothing is guaranteed. And he wasted so much of his life to this illness and this disease. And there was such lost potential. And I just, at that point, my priorities became very clear. And I knew that I always wanted to live fully and live a big life, and basically just make sure that everything I was doing would continue to get me to a point where I didn't have regrets at the end. Right. That I would keep consistently doing the things that felt scary, but that I knew were important for me to feel like I had lived authentically.
That's amazing. Isn't it so interesting how it doesn't matter whether your background is negative or you grew up with the best situation possible, you can always take something away and learn from it. So even having had a negative background, being able to build upon that and say, nope, I'm doing it differently. And I don't think that's something that is easy. From the outside looking in, I can look and say, well, of course you didn't want that for your life, so you created a different life. But I don't think that it's as simple as that. I think it takes like constant effort and awareness to create a totally different experience, because I think naturally you could easily fall into those. Not that you would necessarily be like, you know what, I have to struggle every day to not be an alcoholic, but I don't know. I just think you can definitely hang your own weaknesses and insecurities on, well, this was my situation growing up, so I really have an excuse to not be a good parent or to falter in these ways because I never had a good example of a good father or whatever, whether you feel that way or not.
Yeah.
I'm just making it up. But I think I really do think I think it's amazing that people can choose to go against the circumstance to create a big life. And I love that that's how you've chosen to show up in your own life for your own kids. I think it's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you.
It's really cool.
It's funny. To me, it doesn't feel like a choice. It just kind of feels like, I think especially because I was so young, it was just in that moment. And I've had people close to me die since then, but that, like, having a parent die at a young age, it really is like, oh gosh, life. Like you do feel
fleeting.
so immortal at that young age. And I think getting that realization that you are not, and that this could go away at any point, it just changes your perspective and your priorities. I got really good at quitting things after that, actually.
Really?
Things that weren't right for me. Yeah. Like I was after I went to a master's program, and then I started in this, this PhD program. And after like 3 months, I was like, no, I do not want this for my life. And I like right away quit it. And since then I'm gotten very good at knowing this isn't what I want for my life. So I'm going to say no to this so that I can say yes to other things.
I love that. I think that could be one of the biggest takeaways of our chat that people, I think, need to realize is there's so little time. I mean, I'm realizing that now, even as like my life, I feel like is just getting really, really good. And I told my husband, I'm like, there's not enough time to have all the fun that I want to have before I die.
I love that.
That's awesome. And I just want to cram all the fun in. And it's just physically, there's not enough time to see the entire world in like 1 year. You just can't do it. And so I just think that's such a perspective that people need to have, because what are you waiting for to start living fully in the moment, to jump off the sidelines of your life? There's not going to be this like day when all of a sudden things click. It's literally a series of showing up, starting choices. Right now. Like, yes, ending this episode and doing something different, turning on yoga, going and getting your program and starting something new, holding yourself accountable. That's where the big moments happen. That's where like the big life happens, is in those small decisions and that willingness to show up. So I love that you said that. And we shouldn't all wait for a family member to pass away to have that empowerment. We should realize every single day is a gift. And if it's the last day, I read a post recently from somebody who was like, I just had this realization that, each day could be my last. So I chose to make today the best day ever for my family. And I was like, that's so amazing. If we showed up that way every day, not saying, oh, every day I have to make pancakes in the shape of a heart and I have to take them to a movie and, but just energetically showing up and being a positive influence and speaking kindly and doing things for yourself to make you a better person. I don't know. I think that's so valuable. And I think that's the message. That's why you fit so well on this show, is because that's the message I've been trying to portray for the last couple of years is, you don't have to live a mediocre life. You can live a big life. You're capable of so much more, whatever that looks like for you. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing that.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. And I was just going to say, you don't have to start with something gigantic, right? You can start with something super small. And once you get success with that, you realize you can do it with more.
Yeah, exactly. It's totally a building block moment. I mean, you're just building your own Lego tower while your kids are building actual Lego towers.
That's right.
One brick at a time. I'm like the queen of analogies. If people listen to this, they probably pick up on that. It drives my husband crazy. He's like, just talk normal.
No, that's such a good skill to have. It makes everything so clear. Yes, it is. Yeah. I wish I had that skill.
Well, you spend more time with me and you'll probably start making analogies out of every single moment of your life. It'll be awesome.
It's a deal.
Okay, so final question. I really appreciate you sharing and getting vulnerable, sharing the background with your dad and everything too. So thank you for going there. But final question, what makes you a marvelous mom?
What makes me a marvelous mom? So I am a marvelous mom because my kids never doubt my love for them. Even when I'm yelling at them, they know I love them because I have structured my life in such a way. I've worked so hard to create. We live in an RV right now. We're traveling around the country, and we did that
Oh my
so that we
gosh.
could have
We didn't even
experiences
go
with our
there.
kids. And I know
We didn't even talk
there's too
about
much.
that.
I know
There's too much.
it is
There's
a
too
whole.
much.
There is too much. But like, and we tell them all the time, these choices, like we're able to do this because we wanted to build something so that we could have these experiences with you while you're little, while you're with us, all that stuff. So they never doubt that. And I think that makes me a marvelous mom.
That's amazing, because literally every day of your life, the experience you're in, the situation you're in, is all living proof of like your dedication to creating a life for them. And I think you don't even have to like live in an RV and see the world for your kids to feel that. Like, I think bringing them
No.
aware of, everything I do is for you kids, but it's also strengthening us as a family, and I'm teaching you things. Yeah, we could go on for hours and hours about this. So where can people find you if they want to read more about your story, if they want to connect with you?
Yes, the best place, you can go to my website, brbyoga.com, or to my Facebook page at facebook.com/brbyoga, like be right back yoga.
I love it. That is so awesome. Well, I'm excited. I hope everybody goes and checks it out and checks out your program. And I hope that everybody listening has felt something today. It's definitely been a message I needed to hear, and I really appreciate it. Catherine, you're so wonderful.
Oh, this was such a fun conversation. Thank you so much, Kirsten.
Anytime. We'll have to have you in the Facebook group sharing even more if people are interested in all your travels and all that stuff. So we'll link to you when we share the episode as well. And you guys can go check out show notes at marvelousmomsclub.com. And until then, thanks again, Catherine, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Have a marvelous day.
Thank you. Bye.